right, hello everybody, and welcome into another episode of Marriage Matters with Ken and Shar. It's great having you in. This is going to be a little bit different this episode. It's just going to be me introducing an interview that Shar and I did with a wonderful couple, longtime friends of ours. We've known this couple for probably over 45 years and have served the Lord alongside of them for a long, long time. And over those years, they've become just absolutely wonderful friends of ours. And the reason we're going to drop an interview in here is because we think that including people's real life stories in with the series that we're in will really go a long way to help hang a little bit of flesh on the truths that Shar and I are going to be sharing with you through this series. It's a series entitled So You're Getting Marriage, and it's clearly targeting people who are preparing for their marriage. We've been excited to do this for a long time. We feel like it's so important to help couples build a strong theology for marriage early on, even before they're married, before a bunch of problems happen and bad habits are ingrained and we're way downstream trying to fix broken stuff versus starting off with a really healthy understanding of what it is that God has designed for us in marriage. So this couple has an incredible story of their premarital life, and I think you're really going to enjoy this, and I hope that it really encourages anybody out there listening to this that's soon to be married. In fact, gang, if you know somebody, you know a young couple that's in that process, they're maybe engaged or close to being engaged or in a serious relationship, then you might want to turn them on to this and have them listen to these episodes in this series. I think it'd really be helpful. So there you have it. I'm going to drop you in right at the beginning of an interview that was done a while back, and I really hope you enjoy it. God bless you, and we'll pick up a whole new episode next week, and Shar and I will be back with you, okay? God bless you. We talked a lot about the difference between what I think has become a common thought of the culture, that we actually fall in love versus choosing to love. We're going to kind of follow on that thought, and we thought no better couple to talk about choosing to love one another than our good friends. Let me introduce Brad and Terry Thompson. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Yeah?
Very good.
Glad you guys
are having us.
Glad you guys are here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Can I say a little something?
Shoot.
What I really love about this story is I am a firsthand witness to watching these two falling in love or choosing to get married, because we were in the same church, very close friends, and we watched it from beginning till the altar. And it took a little bit longer than we all hoped, but it did happen. So I'm so excited to hear this story again, because it was a kick in the pants to live it with them.
You did.
And now I get to hear it again and how good God has been to them.
So their story, it kind of goes like this. They chose to be married. They chose not to be married. They chose again to be married and became married. And they've been choosing each other every day since then, which is so awesome. So let's start with this. I want to start with a question we ask everybody we interview, many marriages that we talk to. So it goes like this: marriage, easier or harder than you first anticipated? What do you guys say to that?
Go first, babe.
What do you say, Brad? Easier or harder?
Well, I would have to say, after being married for 42 years, it's harder.
There you go.
I would say the first year it was easier.
Okay.
As the years go on and you go through more stuff together, it is quite a task.
You bet.
But worth it.
Pressured careers, kids, mortgage payments, and everything else.
Yep.
Yeah. Terry, what do you say? Easier or harder than you first anticipated?
I don't know if I'm the only one that would answer this way, but I say a lot easier than I anticipated.
Really?
Yep.
No, you're not the only one. Brad says, well, that
makes me good.
That's right.
I think
I can't see him, but I knew he would like to answer
That's
that.
because I'm me.
You know
Brad
what?
says.
It's true. He's a good husband.
Our son Blake answers it that way.
It's easy.
A lot of it because he said he had built up marriage to be so hairy in his head that once he got married, he realized this is way easier than I thought.
Yep.
And it's really funny because we get both those, and the answer usually comes pretty immediate. So they don't have to think about it. It's like, oh, dude, harder, or oh, dude, easier, right? It's right there. That's awesome. So share a little bit about just general information about you guys. You know, how old are you? How long you been married? Kids, grandkids, all that good stuff. So catch us up.
Okay, so we've been married 42 years. We met when I was 22 and you were 24, I think. No? Yeah. Around then.
Yes.
And we have 11 grandkids. I have to count again. We have 3 kids, 11 grandkids, married 42 years. And do you want me to say how we met, or do you want me to talk more about who we are?
Yeah, just married 42. How old were you when you guys got married?
I was
24
in
and
26.
22.
You were 20.
Right? 24
26.
and 26.
Oh,
24 and 26.
we're going to have to do
That's
the math.
I
awesome.
got to do the math.
We got married in 82. So what is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
Gotta do the math.
yeah.
Awesome. So, and not all of your kids are here local with you guys. You've got them spread out a little bit. Where are they all?
Yep. So we have a son. The youngest son lives here in town in Bakersfield and with his family. And so there's 2 boys. They have 2 boys. And then we have 2 girls. They live close together down south. And so that they have the rest of the grandkids down there with them.
Awesome.
So we see them a lot, though. We go and visit a lot. We're a close family. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So what about your guys' early life prior to you guys meeting? Did you come from, what was your faith life like at home? Did you both come up in a family of faith? Did you not? How did that work?
Well, our lives as kids and growing up until we met were radically different. I grew up in a non-Christian home.
Okay.
My mom got saved very late. And we were all heading out of the house,
Right.
kids. So I got kind of, I'm a second generation Christian, but it was just my mom. As far as Terry goes, I always kid her that she grew up in the Father's Knows Best.
Yeah,
or
Beaver Cleaver kind of thing, right?
Beaver
It's
kind of
true.
house.
It's true. I did.
And I would go to her house and I go, is this normal?
Yeah.
Like,
I've never seen this
there's
before.
no
Yeah.
screaming or throwing anything. So anyway.
And our dads were polar opposite personality.
Okay.
So he was raised with a very lion personality,
Yeah.
And my dad was a golden retriever, real mellow. So,
Yeah.
and they led their homes, but in completely different ways.
Yeah.
So when I would visit his home, I'd go, wow, everybody's like, they just say what they think right out loud.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
And there was, a lot of that. And my family was pretty much calm all the time.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of outbursts or
Yeah.
anything like that. So it was
So
different.
you grew up in the Lord, though. You were saved young.
Yes. My quick story. My parents got married. My mom was a junior in high school at 17. She says 17 and a half. And so she got married. My dad just got out of the service. She went back and finished school. And then they wanted kids so bad. My mom loves kids. And she couldn't get pregnant for 7 years. They weren't walking with the Lord, although she was raised as a Christian.
Wow.
So she remembers promising the Lord. Together, they prayed, if you give us children, we want to serve you. And she was pregnant the next month.
Wow.
So she had boom, 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 4 kids actually all together. One didn't make it, but and then so they walked with the Lord all of our growing up years, and they weren't just religious.
Yeah.
They actually had a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
And
More than just church attending.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and they were servant minded. So we did a lot of just neighborhood ministry in just ministry to people, average, everyday people, not
Yeah.
just in church, which we did too, but just serving others. It was a big thing. So I feel like I was raised with the great role models of what it really means to live for the
Yeah.
Lord.
So you saw a really good model of all of family and all those things.
Yeah.
Brad, so you guys met, by the time you met, take us back there. You were just recently saved?
Recent
Brad?
2 months.
So you'd known the Lord 2 months
2 months.
when you guys first
Yeah.
met.
I still had a foot in the world,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Lord cleaning a lot of stuff up. Yeah.
very much.
Well, we had met. There was a church baptism out at a lake, and it was kind of funny story that Charlene had actually told me this about a couple months before we met, she goes, "There's this really cute guy at church, but I won't let you date him." And I said, "Why not?" She goes, "He's a brand new Christian, and I don't know." And I said, "Oh, okay." I just kind of didn't think anything about it, whatever. So there was a church baptism. We both happened to be there. We were playing volleyball after the baptism was over. And we started talking, and I told her after, I go, "Oh, I met this really cute guy." She goes, "Who?" And I pointed out him towards the parking lot. She goes, "That's him."
That's the guy I'm warning you about.
I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen.
We met on our own.
So you, by that time, had come to know the Lord, so you guys' relationship starts. So one of the reasons we're really happy to have you guys on here is because there was so much, your guys' story from beginning to build your relationship to the time you actually got to the altar and got married is really interesting. And it's filled with,
That's a good word.
to me, the storyline of that thing is, it took both of you, it took a lot of courage on both your parts to let God be God here and to discern what the Lord was doing and to be led of the Lord as much as possible, right? And I think it just reinforces this whole idea that people are making choices and have to take responsibility for those choices. They're big choices. Who you marry and when you marry, they're just massive choices that you make and that we're responsible for that really have life implications, right? So tell us about, best you can, and we'll kind of wander our way through here, but fill us in with that story and all the ups and downs to it and what the Lord was doing during that time.
Okay, well, I think Brad should start, but you got to know right off the bat that our stories are kind of different.
Oh,
Yes,
the
they are.
perspectives are
The perspectives are different.
Right. So I'm going to let him go, and then I'll correct him.
okay,
Mhm.
and you'll correct it, yeah. And then you'll give the real story.
Yes. So stay tuned for part 2.
Well,
you go, honey.
Yeah. As soon as I got saved, I grew up in a somewhat dysfunctional home,
Okay.
but the marriage commitment was something of a grind.
Mhm.
And I learned that my parents were together because they were willing to make the choice to grind together.
Okay.
And it wasn't always pretty, but I figured I had that kind of foundation, but I didn't have the Lord. So as soon as I got saved and I got the Holy Spirit, I immediately started praying for a godly woman
Okay.
because I always wanted to be married.
Mhm.
Even when I was a younger kid, I wanted to be married. I loved the whole idea of being in the same home and raising kids and being married.
And let me ask just a question. At that point in your life, marriage was permanent.
Permanent.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because that was about the time when America as a culture was drifting far away from that idea, right? But you came into
Yes.
your relationship with Terry believing, hey, it's for
Yeah.
real and it's for good and it's permanent.
Yes.
That's
and,
awesome.
And you think that you got that from your family life growing up, that
From my
marriage is
parents.
permanent. Okay.
Because I saw my mom and dad go through a lot of turmoil,
Mhm.
a lot of emotional turmoil, a lot
Right. Hard stuff.
of borderline abuse,
Okay.
verbally. It was just a lot of turmoil.
Yeah.
And I witnessed that, but I saw their grit
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I saw the fact that
Mm.
they were,
Committed
this
to
is who they were.
Yeah.
And they often said, well, the only reason we're not together is nobody would leave.
Mm,
Mhm.
And so that was how I went into thinking about marriage.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens. I ain't leaving,
right.
Okay.
so,
Right.
and then when I got the Holy Spirit, something a whole lot different started
Yeah,
taking
right.
place
A whole
in my
different view.
heart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So as soon as I got saved, I started praying for that godly woman.
Okay.
And then, 60 days later, I see her.
60 days.
Okay, so your relationship is growing. How long from the time you guys began to date and be together pretty seriously, how long till a proposal took place or till marriage really became, did that move fast?
The first proposal, or are you talking
Well,
about?
okay, yeah.
The first one.
Yes.
Oh, and I
Wait.
wanted to
Wait, there was
see,
actually
we're already
3.
interrupting.
Was there
was
three?
actually 3.
So, okay, again, to our point, you're making a lot of decisions. We call it falling in love, right?
Mhm.
But you're going through great times and the excitement of a new relationship. You had to have had some arguments in there, but you learned to overcome them. It's worth it. The upside of this relationship is rich enough and good enough that it's worth it. so you're building this relationship. At some point in time, marriage proposal comes and you guys are thinking it's time to be married, right? So how long was that time? Did you date before that time?
Wow. I should have studied.
It was about
That's
a
okay.
year.
Was it about a year?
Back.
It was about
Yeah,
a year.
about a year.
A year to a year and a half.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I could tell it was getting more serious. And that made me, even though I really loved him, I could right away when we started talking about more serious, I was thinking more down the road. But he was thinking sooner. And then it was making me nervous.
Okay.
A little bit.
All right.
Yeah. So there was a check in me of, do I really want to do that? I mean, is this because of when I look back, I think the upbringing I had, my parents did it so well. And even at 22, I already had friends that were married that were struggling, that I was looking at it like, I'm not going to do this unless I have to be all in. Not that I got to find Mr. Perfect, because I knew that wasn't real.
Right.
But I needed to know that I couldn't go with doubts,
Right.
like if this is going to work or not, because I knew I was in for life.
Yeah.
So
that's the whole point. It's a massive decision,
yeah,
right?
It's massive. And I thought I was so nervous about making that decision because I knew I could not remake it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would talk about it, I would get nervous. I think looking back, it's easier to see. I was more nervous about some things that I saw because I was because he was a new Christian and I hadn't seen him walk with the Lord long enough.
Right.
So there was some things that were happening that I would go, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want that part of my life.
Right. So you're not feeling that way, right, Brad? You're like ready to roll. This is a green light. I want to be married. Yeah.
Yeah, I was ready to make the choice.
Yeah.
61 days after
Yeah.
I got saved.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I saw her,
Yeah.
I mean, I made a choice. This is a gal I'm going to pursue.
Yeah.
He said,
This
"You're gonna
is
be
my wife.
That's right.
Yeah, I think I even said the words
Yeah.
because that's just kind of my that's my personality.
Got it.
That's the way, I was
Right.
raised and grew up. And so I went into it I probably made the first 3 choices in one day.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. You're choosing fast. Yeah.
I was way out there.
Well, in that last episode, we talked about when early in a relationship, the choosing isn't hard.
Yeah.
Look, when you're emotionally taken that way and smitten that way, it's almost like surfing. It's a wave you're riding. Now later on, you got to paddle back out to catch another wave. And we all know that sometimes marriage is paddling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And waiting for a new wave and creating a new wave, right? But Terry, I'm going to come back to you. So stuff is happening and you're now faced with decision time.
Yes.
I mean, you're either going to forge ahead
Yes.
or you've got to decide something different. So tell us about that.
So he bought a ring and proposed to me, but when he did it, there was some people around and it made me feel pressure.
Okay.
And I loved him, but so I'm in this turmoil in my heart and in my head. There was something in me that was going, oh, I don't know, I'm really nervous. I don't know. And the other side of me is like, what's the matter with you? He's really cute and good looking and you're attracted to him. We have fun together. He loves the Lord. What's wrong with this?
Yeah.
He's a hard worker. He has a good job. He's, and you'd be stupid not to marry him, and people have told me that. Yeah. So I'm like, well, am I stupid or what's wrong? It's like, so anyway, I said yes and put the ring on, and then time kept going, and then then I'm off to the races.
Yeah. And
so we planned it like, I don't know, it was about 8 months out, and just long enough to put everything together. And so there was invitations, and there was and all this stuff. And the closer I got to the date, the more I couldn't sleep. And I wasn't telling him this. I was just kept thinking, well, this feeling will go away. And and I kept reciting all the good things I knew about him, and but it wasn't going away. So I did the wrong thing, and I didn't say anything to anybody. Okay. I was just eating it with the Lord, but couldn't find peace till I was down to like 110 pounds and had really bad acne. And
so it was really stressful. You were really...
Oh, it was the hardest time of my life.
She was looking bad. I was having second thoughts.
Oh, that's
We were
awesome.
both having second thoughts. She was going, ew, and I was going, yeah, I don't know.
That's awesome.
I
So,
remember those days well.
Yes, I
very
talked to
well.
Charlene a lot.
Uh-huh.
So did Brad.
Yes.
Were you
Different
sharing
times.
some of the turmoil or the hesitation, the reticence? Were you sharing it with Charlene at that
Well,
time?
I remember that you called me once and you said, I'm really having some hesitation because the invitations were going out very soon. And I loved Brad. And I said, if you have those reservations, you can't marry him.
Right.
You just can't do it. And as much as I wanted to see it happen, I knew that if she couldn't do it. So soon after that, you can go ahead and tell the rest of it.
You did tell me that, which was great. And I thought you might think that he was a good pick for me, but you didn't tell me that, which was good because I didn't feel pressure from you. I just felt like you wanted me to do what I felt like was right in the Lord.
Right.
And so anyway, I thought his mom, I'll never forget, his mom came over. The invitations were sitting on the counter. The bridesmaids' dresses were made. Everything was done. We were like 4 weeks out.
Right.
And I
Wow.
kept thinking, if I mail those, I'm doing it. If I mail them, I'm doing it. And she kept saying, we got to get those out. And I thought, I can't do this. So I finally told Brad. And then I didn't even give you good answers. I was just, all I could say was,
You
I'm
didn't
not
feel
at
at
peace. I'm just not at peace. And I couldn't even tell you why. I didn't even know why, really, a lot of it. I went to tell my dad. I knew he would understand and support me because, like I said, he's really easygoing and he loved the Lord. So he told me the same thing you did, Charlene. He said, Terry, if you're not at peace with this, there's no pressure here.
Right.
Like, just take your time and wait,
Right.
and see what God does. So that was great. His family wasn't very happy with me, which I understand. I wouldn't have been happy with me either, so they didn't understand, and I don't blame them. But, there was some things, now that I look back, like I said, the Lord has revealed to me a lot of what I needed to know. And I think these things are important. Some of the things I think it's important to say. A couple things that were hanging me up where, I'll just give you one example. And this sounds like a small thing, but if you knew how I thought and who I was, you'd go, oh, I get that. But Brad's dad was an alcoholic. And till he was probably, I don't know, you were raised with alcoholic dad till you were how old?
Yeah, it was probably about 8.
8. So there's a lot of that. So I knew that. And Brad had messed around with a lot of drugs and alcohol all through high school and all that kind of stuff. All my uncles are alcoholics. I felt like everything that happened in my life that was negative had been centered around alcohol in some way. My dad's side they were alcoholics, so I was not my family, but when we go to visit my other grandma and grandpa, it was all about drinking. And I remember sitting there and just getting lost in the shuffle because after the first 5 minutes of, oh, how cute you are, they're into their drinking party. And then you just sit and wait for the, So I had this negative, all I knew was that I did not want to be in a family that had alcohol involved in it.
Okay.
So I'm looking at him and thinking, now this is just one thing, but I thought, he still has a beer now and then, which is not bad. I'm not judging anybody for that. There's a lot of people that have a beer on weekends and they're not alcoholics. But for me, it bothered me because of my experiences. And so I remember asking him, there's something in me that I just don't want that a part of our life. Can you just not? That's my conviction. I'm not saying it has to be everybody's conviction, but it was mine, So I mentioned that to him and he didn't understand it. Because, he goes, it's not a sin to have a beer. No, I'm not saying it's sin. I just don't want to do anything, anytime to where that could be a part of our life down the road somewhere. And I know if we don't drink, then we'll never be alcoholics.
Right.
Because we don't have it.
Won't be affected by it.
Yes, and I've seen so much of it, even not that, but in college and just some bad experiences with it. I just didn't want it.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that bothered me. And because I knew that in our families, we have a tendency to go there.
Yeah.
I didn't want my kids to be around it down the road.
Right.
And so that was one thing. And I think some of the other things was, a lot of it was because he was a brand new Christian.
Sure. Understandably. Yeah.
And so I just felt like I wanted to know. So we talked about that a little bit, and he got some counsel on that. And he was willing to give that up. But there was some other things too. I thought, I just wanted, what I really needed to see, although I didn't know it at the time, I needed to know that if I was not in his life, would he still walk with the Lord? That's what I needed to see. I needed to see that he would be my leader.
Yeah, great point.
And so that time, we ended up calling off the wedding. And there was another 1.5 years in there that we were not dating, but we were still talking. I needed to see if he was going to walk with the Lord. If I wasn't around, what's he going to do with this Christian life? Was he just there because we started dating and I go to church, so he goes to church? And when I saw that he did, and his relationship with God was real and strong, then I was attracted to him in a different way.
A lot shifted, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, he's the real deal. Okay.
Let me interject a couple things here real quick. Shar and I, for a long, long time, with premarital people and couples, we teach them that as you're falling in love or deciding to continue that relationship towards marriage, decision after decision after decision, get over a fight, apologies happen, and you make up, so you decide, no, this is still worth it. But the reality is, nobody belongs to anybody during that time in a relationship until, again, what we call the mother of all decisions is made. And the mother of all decisions is to say, I give up my rights to ever choose anything but you from that day forward.
Right.
That's your wedding. That's your marriage. That's what we would have told you. I don't remember having that conversation, but we tell young marrieds all the time. I've told them, look, if I'm marrying you, I don't care if you're on your way down the aisle. If you have this hesitation, you don't feel it's the Lord, then stop it right there.
Right.
I'm going to give you a big hug. Tell everybody, hey, there's chicken surprise in the back room. Have a nice dinner, but there's not going to be a wedding today, right? So we feel strongly about that choice is so big. So would you agree with that?
Oh,
that
totally.
During that
time,
and people say, but what am I going to tell his mom? What am I going to tell my parents? What am I going to tell? It doesn't matter what you tell them.
Well, you might have to endure a little bit of that.
You will.
But I felt like as soon as I did that, I was at peace with God.
Yeah.
Because I was praying this whole time, Lord, show me this. And then I felt like the Lord just wanted me to stop, like just stop going forward. And then he would show me, you know what I mean?
This is just so good for premaritals to hear that I'm not in a covenant until I'm in a covenant. Right. And we still can do that. If it takes longer to both of us at the same time feel like this is what the Lord is doing, then we'll wait longer. So you postponed. Let me ask you a question.
No, I did not.
How did that go? That was my question. Was this a postponement? Was it, I don't know, Brad, what the future holds?
It was worse than postpone. It was, I don't know if I'm supposed to marry you.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not promising you any future. I don't know what, I don't know. I just
And you had those conversations during that time.
Well, I think we were looking at this from different perspectives.
Right.
And remember, I'm a young Christian.
Right.
And I'm about to learn what that covenant means more than just grinding it out.
Yeah.
Right? So that process was necessary for me. It sounds like it was a lot about Terry, but this was my refining time when the Lord really was able to get me alone and convince me by his word and by a lot of good examples around me, yourself included, what marriage really is in a biblical sense.
Yeah.
Because I was willing to take the commitment, and I would stick. But would it be fruitful?
Right.
Would she be feeling whole every day? Probably not.
Right.
You know, so, and that's when, you know, I was introduced to Ephesians chapter 5, right there in the middle of verse 22, and it talks about through that chapter about what it means to be a husband. And it was it was a heart checker for me.
Well,
So, go ahead.
Brad, because we did walk with you through this, and it was painful. It was pain for all of us. But as looking back, I always admired that you, no matter what you were feeling and how hurt you were about the whole experience with the wedding being called off, you never, at least my experience, you never doubted God and what God was going to do through it. And it was painful, but you kept pressing on with the Lord. And I admired that so much because you didn't give up. You didn't throw fits. You didn't.
Yeah, I don't remember remember him being
your faith
angry.
Your faith didn't waver. I mean, you might have had bad days that you were really hurt, but you still went for it with the Lord, even though you didn't know the future with Terry. I have always admired that because as a young man, God did that in you. And there's plenty older men than you that don't have that. And that they're not willing to let God take something difficult they're going through in a season and say, I'll wait it out. I'll wait out this season with the Lord because, Lord, you have something for me and you're worth it. You're worth it, Lord, not this marriage. You're worth it. And I just wanted to interject that because that's where
I agree.
a lot of people become very faint in their faith. And you didn't. And the Lord blessed you for that. And
I don't
cool.
remember, Brad, your reaction being one of anger or bitterness or Terry, did you ever catch any of that from him?
No. And that's what you just described is what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
But I needed to see that. So what we had before was like more of a phileo kind of love.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I saw this man that I felt like, well, I just treated him dirty and he's still being nice to me.
Yeah.
And willing to wait and see what I needed to go through. And I thought, oh, gosh, what kind of guy? Right. And then I'm going, oh, he's such a great person. You know? It's like, and so he did. He followed God.
I just wanted to keep her in sight.
Yeah.
And then she moved away.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Man, the Lord must have really met you in that, Brad. I mean, that just really must have been a time just between you and the Lord of deep growth and learning to trust, right? Time of learning what faith is all about and trusting Him.
And I had the best of friends between you and JB and other guys around me that I would, I'll cherish till I die.
Yeah.
But I think without that kind of fellowship and encouragement and accountability, I can honestly say I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Where I would be.
Yeah.
What
True.
If we would have had a future, because it was a big time in my life. It was a necessary time in my life.
So how long of a time span?
Well, it was another year and a half.
I can answer that.
Charlene,
I had one baby the day that I came home
We're
from
just
the hospital.
having babies all the time.
Popping out babies. I'm just trying to get married.
I came home from the hospital with one baby, newborn. She showed me her ring. And it wasn't until I had another baby that we had a wedding. The baby wasn't a newborn.
That was true.
Yeah.
So time had gone by eventually, obviously. So another decision is made here.
Yes. So time's going by.
To begin to.
We weren't dating or anything. So fine. But every once in a while we talk, still go in the same church, but we weren't like talking a lot. We were trying to give each other space just to see what. But I was like, I don't know. I was miserable because I felt like I was still trying to hear from God in this whole thing. And anyway, finally I just got frustrated with the whole thing. I thought, I'm nuts. I can't make a decision. He doesn't want somebody like me. I can't even make up my mind. I must be weird or something. So I told him, I said, Brad, I don't know, because he would tell me, I don't know what when you're praying, I feel like God's telling me you're my wife. And I go, why would God tell us two different things? I just feel like nothing, I'm not sure. So after all that time, I said, you just need to go on with your life because I can't make a decision and I don't want to mess up your life and you're waiting and I can't promise anything. So you just need to start dating other people. So he just said, okay.
Can we back up?
Yeah.
She was dating.
No, I was not. Here's where
kind of semi-dating a couple guys.
He thinks we were dating.
Yes,
I was not dating.
That's a fact.
No.
I'm watching this.
No.
That's
I
good.
was not dating. I promised you I was not dating. So anyway, but once I said that, I go, you just need to go on, start dating other people. Well, like 2 weeks later, I heard it was at the show with some blonde girl. And I'm like, what? And
I can't do that.
I got so mad. And I'm like, I told him to go do it. And then he did it. And I just remember this thing rose up inside of me like I was so irritated, So I remember this is ridiculous. I was ridiculous. I remember laying in the hallway on Holtby Street in this little duplex going, okay, Lord, he's gone. Like I can't just keep keeping him in limbo. He's out of here. So if I don't hear from you and I don't know what to do, he's just gone. And then I just had it, because I just felt, I don't know, no peace. So, and I don't know how this happens, but the next day when I was in prayer, I just felt like a peace from the Lord, like this can be yours if you want it, And I kind of looked back at what we'd been through and what Brad was doing, and the Lord reminded me of some things even though we were going through all this, he ended up over my house painting my kitchen for me, and he was doing all this stuff for me that was serving me, even though I was pushing him away. And the Lord just kind of gave me a virtual picture of ways he's serving and character traits that were important in a husband. And I went, okay, I feel like this is the man that's now for me. So I thought, well, now what do I do? Because, I told him, no, I don't know what to do. So I called him and he goes, hello. And I go, will you marry me?
Did you really? I have not heard this story before.
He did. He goes, yep.
Yeah. That is awesome.
So we called all the same people. We go, well, it's on again. And,
Wow.
So
And how long from that time until the wedding?
Well, from the time it was short then because
everything was
we get new
we all
invitations.
had our
we all had their
bridesmaids.
dresses. It was just dresses were all done.
Wow.
So I remember when we got there, what was kind of funny, going through the actual wedding ceremony. It was like everybody, when it was over, I felt like the applause was more like, yes, they finally got this thing figured out, But and then maybe that's why my answer is it's easier than I thought.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I went through the hardest time before making the decision to me was, it might not be like that for most people, but it was hard for me to make it, to go all in, because I knew I was in forever,
It's really interesting that you never mentioned falling out of love with him.
No,
which is really
always loved
interesting.
him.
Again, to our point that what's happening is people are making decisions all along. And you made a really hard one, a really difficult one, and then decided, as the Lord had his way, decided, no, this is the Lord. And so you're back in. He decided, make a decision, this is worth it. We can do this.
I felt like in time we grew in such a way in our walks with the Lord that we were able to come back together and not make a big mess out of it.
Right.
So I feel like not that we didn't fight or have struggles, but I felt like once we got together and we was on our way, we'd gone through so much before in our growing and our relationships with the Lord, and then what we wanted to be together, that it was easier.
So Brad, what did you think when you got that phone call?
Yeah.
I probably thought it's about time.
Yeah.
What more do I have to do?
Yeah.
You did it all.
Pretty sure, because I was still convinced that, the Lord had made it very clear to me this was my life with Terry.
Yeah.
And I think I could have went through a lot more. I really do.
I just needed to figure it out.
I was a different person, I think after a year and a half, something
a
like that.
different person.
I was a different
Yeah.
person.
Right.
And I felt like I just, it was necessary. And although I knew she was going to be my wife, or that's the one I needed to continue to pursue.
Wow.
It was worth the wait, because I felt like the Lord didn't just leave me alone, during that time. It was a sweet time.
Right.
And without that time, I believe that we probably,
I don't know.
it would have been
different.
a little,
Would have been a whole different trajectory, right?
different. Yeah.
A whole different journey.
God's faithful to, grow you no matter where you are.
Right.
I'm not saying it wouldn't have worked. I'm just saying I think our first year of marriage would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
So, we were, we had grown up a lot in that year. We could look at each other and go, okay, nobody's perfect, but I can do this thing with you. Both of us knew that we had a strong walk with the Lord that wasn't just going to quit
Yeah.
when it got hard. I needed to know that. I needed to know he was in 100%.
So as you began to rebuild that relationship after that phone call and you're heading towards marriage,
yeah,
was he quite a different man?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd already seen it. So I was at peace.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for somebody perfect. I was looking for somebody that I knew that no matter what happened, they were going to walk with the Lord. And you can't promise that.
Right.
But
But you
there's
saw
some-
it happen.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and there's some fruit in people's lives that you can see that you're going, I don't know if they're going to walk with the Lord forever.
Right.
And then some of them, some people you can look at and go, well, I think that they're committed
That's a real
to the Lord
faith.
no matter what.
Yep.
And I needed to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, this is, we've been really yammering on about the idea, understanding that love isn't something you fall into. It's something that you choose to give someone, right? And that because you belong to the Lord, until that covenant is made, you can choose otherwise as the Lord leads, right? We belong to Him right up until that time. But boy, once that covenant exists, that is that mother of all choices. The real upside of talking about all this, to me, one of the things that's important is that what it says is, nobody did this to me. Nobody did this marriage thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
If we all take ownership of that, I chose this life and I chose it with you. I will never quit choosing it with you. Then we can choose through all the hard stuff, all the difficult seasons of time. There is no back door. I forfeited ever the privilege of ever choosing anything but you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if more young people, again, we call it burning the ships, if they'd burn those ships and understand what the choice they're making and have a right theology for marriage and for what that covenant is, that there'd be way more success stories in married life for the people of God. So, yeah. Okay, last question. Just to kind of close this out, what if you had just one bit of encouragement to give couples that are in line to be married here, they're in a pre-marriage state right now, what might you tell them?
Well, I think I would tell guys to commit to waking up every day and to make your wife's life better that day.
Mm.
Like that should be part of your devotion
Right.
in the beginning of that day.
Right.
Besides seeking the Lord,
Sure.
that next devotion should be, okay, Lord, how can I make Terry's life better today?
Mm-hmm.
And
because you know why we marry who we marry? Because we're convinced that life with them is better than life without them.
That's right.
That's what you came to, right,
Yeah.
Terry? That life with him in it will be better than life without him in it. Think of the other side of that coin is, if I'm making Charlene's life worse with me in it, why would she want to be? Why? Nobody marries somebody go, boy, life is going to be miserable with you, but I can't wait. We marry somebody that we, to your point, Brad, that is going to make our life better,
or mediocre.
Yeah,
mediocre is not better.
Right, right.
That's just apathy.
Yeah, just business as usual. Yeah,
business.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
And I think secondly, it would be grace.
Yeah.
I think we talk about that and we try to practice that
and
not focus on each other's, like I'm going to blame you.
Right.
Or how could you do that? Or, you stink or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, just, I stink a lot and Terry gives me a lot of grace and we just try to give each other grace. We're just human beings.
Yeah.
And so,
that's Terry, what about you?
I think for women, I don't know. I mean, I think Brad's the best part of this marriage. I really do. So, I feel very fortunate to have a man that works hard, and I don't mean just for financial gain. I saw that in him, so I thought he's a hard worker. He doesn't quit easy with anything in life, and that also falls over into his walk with the Lord. So I just mentioned that because I was looking for somebody that loved the Lord with all their heart and mind and soul, like Scripture says we're supposed to do, and that matters. So there's a lot of men out there that say they're Christians, but you need to watch what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Really watch them. And that time that we broke off our engagement, I felt like I was watching a movie. Like I could see how he handled things in life. Was he going to stick with the Lord when it got hard and he lost things, or was he going to throw in the towel?
Yeah.
And I needed, if I was going to submit to somebody, I needed somebody who would about kill them to make them quit doing something, whether it's for their family or for the Lord or anything. That to me was a big thing.
Right.
Not like you can't find the perfect man. There's no perfect people, right, on this planet. But that was huge. And he's a gracious person. That matters. But mostly to me, I think the top of my list is that they have to love the Lord with all their heart and soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then God together can get you through whatever you're going to face.
Right.
And you never know what that's going to be. But if you're both sold out to the Lord, then you can make it.
Yeah. You guys, just listening to the story, Shar and I tell people all the time that ask, one of the biggest virtues that you can look for premaritally in the person you're considering marrying for life, right, is a teachable spirit.
Yep.
If they bring a teachable spirit, which is really, to me, that's a lot of the story, is that Brad kept a teachable spirit through this thing, and he didn't react in selfish anger and lash out in the flesh, but had a way of trusting the Lord and keeping his heart teachable through that time, which is just so neat. You had to have a teachable spirit too, because you're talking about going one direction, then heading another direction, being able to double back again at that time where the Lord was guiding you and leading you, which is it takes a heart that's willing to respond to the Lord and do what the Lord is calling you to do and moving you to do, and in the way that he's moving you to do it, which is a teachable spirit. So it's awesome.
Important.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Man, thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, it was great going down memory lane. I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm just getting all happy, just thinking about the many years ago. It was a sweet time.
And you guys were with us through all that heartache. We both used to call Kenny and Charlene crying, and then the next one would call crying. And
Shar and I were young marrieds, and we'd go to the movie or something, and we'd take Terry to the drive-in theater.
Just told everybody that.
That's okay. We had a blast. Terry in the back seat watching the movie with us.
This is how nice they are. They would go finally get a date night without their little kids. And so here I was with nothing to do. And Charlene and Kenny would call me and go, "Do you want to go to the movie?" And sometimes it was the old drive-in movie. And they were so nice about it. And I would go. I mean, how pitiful is that I would go?
You were lonely.
So sad.
This was before Brad. You were lonely.
Yeah. And I would go. I'm like, I would never do that.
Were they kissing in the front seat?
No, they were nice enough not to do that.
Not to make you too uncomfortable. That's good. Oh, we love you guys. Thanks so much for taking the time to do this. And
it was fun. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to go ahead and sign off now, and we'll pick up our next episode in that series for So You're Getting Married, for young couples in line to be married. So can't wait to see you again, guys. God bless you, each and every one.
Bye-bye.